This man suddenly realized he had already spent 108 days on Mars. He used every bit of his strength to send a message back to Earth. After searching for a long time, he found an old rover called Pathfinder, which had been sent to Mars years earlier. So much time had passed that he wasn't even sure it would still work, but his hope of returning home kept him going. He powered it on, and the old machine slowly came back to life after being buried under Martian dust. Its signal receiver turned toward a nearby space station, and soon the scientists on Earth realized that Pathfinder was working again. They were finally able to reconnect with it. Mark noticed the rover moving on its own, but it was extremely old. Since Mars is so far away, every message took about 30 minutes to travel one way. That's when Mark realized he was connected to Earth's space center. He returned to his base and wrote simple words on whiteboards, hanging them in front of the camera. 30 minutes later, the people on Earth saw the messages and were overjoyed. They could only reply by moving the camera, but at least communication had been restored. To make things faster, Mark came up with a clever idea. He placed boards with letters written on them around Pathfinder. The team on Earth would rotate the camera to point at specific letters, and Mark would read the message, but it was painfully slow. Sometimes it took hours to write a single sentence. Eventually, the scientists found a better solution. Within a few days, they taught Mark how to rewrite Pathfinder's software. It was then connected directly to his communication rover, allowing them to talk normally again. Everyone was amazed by Mark's determination, but they had to tell him the truth. He would have to survive alone on Mars for 4 more years because the next mission, Ares 4, couldn't launch until then. Mark still had a large supply of potatoes, enough to last almost a year. Mission Control promised to send a rocket with food and supplies to keep him alive for the next 4 years. But fate had other plans. That same night, while Mark was inside the lab, the pressurized section failed. The already damaged habitat lost its balance, and suddenly a massive explosion ripped through it. His helmet cracked, and oxygen began leaking out. He quickly sealed it with tape, saving his life. But the freezing Martian air rushed inside, covering the lab with ice, and all of his potatoes were ruined. Mark informed Earth, and the situation became critical. The space agency sped up the supply mission, and just 1 month later, the rocket was ready. Mark had only 400 days of food left. Without completing all the safety checks, they launched the rocket, hoping it would reach him in time. At first, everyone celebrated, but soon the rocket started vibrating violently. Before anyone could react, it exploded in midair. The rushed launch had failed. Now, by the time another rocket could be built, Mark would have already starved to death. Everyone lost hope. When Mark received the terrible news, he gave up on the idea of surviving. He decided that once his food ran out, he would simply wait for death. Then, China's space agency offered to help. They had a secret mission called Taiyang Shen, Sun God, with a powerful booster rocket. The scientists came up with a new plan. China's booster would carry food and fuel to the Hermes spacecraft, which was already on its way back to Earth. Hermes would then turn around and head back toward Mars. Once it reached Martian orbit, Mark would launch from the surface in his ascent vehicle and rendezvous with Hermes to finally return home. If you've ever dreamed of going to Mars and eating fresh potatoes, let me know in the comments.